What's up and welcome back to the neighborhood. It is time once again for us to talk about the games we've been playing lately. We call this episode format the Neighborhood Watch. Welcome to the podcast where three longtime friends talk about video games from the average gamer's perspective. My name is Andrew Kimball.
I'm Dylan Wren.
And I'm Aubrey Sommer.
And we are your friendly neighborhood gamers.
Before we dive in, if you enjoy this show, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review if your podcast app of choice allows it. Also, if you're watching or listening to this on YouTube, then leaving a like and a comment on that video to let us know you enjoyed the episode also helps out a ton. Not only to let us know that you liked it, but also it helps us get it in front of more potential viewers/listeners. If you want to be part of episodes like this in the future, or if you just want to join the effing community and come hang out with us and all the various, well, not all, but a lot of the various guests we've had on the show and friends of the show, Discord is the place to do it. Before we talk about the games we've been playing, though, today we are recording this on January 16th, 2025, a random Thursday at the beginning of the year where Nintendo has decided to officially announce/confirm the existence of the Switch 2 and that it will be called the Switch 2. Did you guys watch that video today?
I did.
Yeah, I took that 2 minutes out of my day to watch.
Would you say, Aubrey, it was boring?
No. I did. Like first thing this morning, it was one of the first bits of news I saw. I mean, it wasn't revolutionary.
No. I was also like, I thought it was odd that it was there when I woke up this morning. I kind of expected it to get like dropped or, done closer to, I guess, their more traditional times that they do like a Nintendo Direct or something. It felt early to me. It felt...
What time was it in Japan?
Well, that's what I'm saying too. Like it was super like early over there, like middle of the night, I assume. I didn't do the exact math, but
maybe they just like set it to go live at 12 a.m. like like I do with the podcast.
Surprise, you get it when you get it.
Talking about the announcement trailer itself, I was kind of surprised, I guess. I guess like the tone of the vibe felt very much like trying to be more contemporary and aimed at adults, I guess, which I mean the adults are the ones that have to buy it, but like the music, and they stuck pretty much to the gray color palette skew of it all. They were showing off like...
Yeah, it was not the Switch 1 trailer where it was like people hanging out on a roof playing Mario Kart or whatever. Like this was...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It felt very much to me like almost like it was trying to be in that Steam Deck lane. Like this is a piece of tech, it's not just a toy kind of thing.
Yeah. It felt like an announcement trailer that you might get at like some technical showcase where they like the launch of the newest iPhone that, is just slightly different from other iPhones, but they say it's more powerful.
Yeah. Well, CES just happened, right? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, which is the computer, what does it stand for? I don't even know. No. But it's like the big techie showcase. So,
yeah, I haven't done any deep dives on I don't know that there are any deep dive articles out there yet, and I haven't really followed up a lot on the announcement.
There are about 47 articles on IGN all about the Switch 2, even though we have almost no information about it.
Yeah, I can imagine those are a nightmare to try to read. But the speculation or the kind of theory that I've seen about why it was announced today was that because of all the leaks and everything, they were trying to just sort of get ahead of that and just put the official announcement out there, because they basically said, hey, it's real. We're going to tell you all the details in April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to see its form factor. It's a little bit bigger. It has a new Joy-Con like docking, locking system.
Yeah.
Has
What
a much nicer stand.
is it magnetized? Like it looked like it just popped.
I assume
like,
it has to be
in-
magnetized because it's not just
Yeah.
going to hold on by that little connector.
Yeah.
Like that's not enough. But
which
it does have
that
the
thing
little like
looks-
groove.
Yeah, that thing looks like it's gonna break. To me.
Well, what I saw people complaining about that online, like, oh, this is going to be this is going to break and whatever. But then one person pointed out that like it looks like it's sticking out further in the pictures and the images than it probably is. It's probably a lot more flush with that, like the groove that
With
it's
the
sitting
edge,
in.
yeah.
And so
I'm sure.
it shouldn't theoretically, like you'd have to like pop the Joy-Con out of its groove
Yeah.
to snap it.
Right.
But it does also, I mean, compared to every other thing, every other form factor on the device, like that is probably the number one spot that is at risk for something to break.
For some sort of failure.
Mhm.
Although I was reading something too that I don't know how true this was, and I didn't really look that deep into it, but
It's a
it was
podcast. That's what we do.
yeah. It was something they were
Speculate wildly.
they were saying like that when they were testing the Switch 1, they dropped it from like child height multiple times to just like
Right.
like Nintendo did, just to try to make sure that it could survive a fall from child height, you know? And so I'm sure that they're thinking of, hey, we market, like adults play it, but it's a big like kids thing. So we want to make sure that some kid, like your daughter, if she's playing with it, is not just going to like immediately snap the Joy-Con like port off. Like I'm sure they've thought of this, but
Yeah, because
it just seemed weird because like now it slides in and locks, and I was like, how does it do that here though? Like that was what was like to me. It's like, does it just like pop in and out? Like how that seems weird. So
yeah, I wonder if there's some sort of a button or a touchpad thing on it that like activates like a magnetic lock sort of thing that like makes it really hard to get it off, and then if you disengage that, then they just like pop right off. Because yeah, it's cool. I like the idea of it, especially with like the concept of the Switch was really cool, and the way that it functions is cool. But like the sliding of the Joy-Cons and the like sliding on the little like button adapter things that go on top if you want to use a single one and stuff like that, that is always kind of that like point of tension. Am I pushing this thing too hard? Is it supposed to, like, why is it not sliding out? Or like you mentioned, my daughter, she's using I think Aubrey's original Switch, I think is the one that, because I think I traded mine in for the OLED. You gave Abby yours for like a birthday present or something.
Her birthday, yeah.
And then she got the OLED. And so I think Cadence has like your original Switch, and it's still holding up. But anytime I like hold it, one of the sides on it, the Joy-Con, can basically just be pushed out. Like you don't even really have, like it barely kind of locks in there, which considering the age of the thing isn't too surprising, but it's like, I can definitely see why they went back to the drawing board to try to come up with a new system for the next iteration. And
so it's larger. At what point is it so large? Like, I guess I found myself wondering, like, how heavy is this thing gonna be? Because already the dream of laying in bed holding a Switch above your face is more of a dream than a reality. And at what point is this? I mean, I already play with mine docked most of the time. How much use does this get outside of a dock? I mean, it did look like it had a better stand. So like you could prop it up. So maybe it's more about like propping it up and just having a controller in hand and using it as like a separate display.
If you're thinking about us, the millennials, yeah, or like the generation that grew up with DSs and stuff, this is not a console you can just put in your pocket and like take with you. It's gonna have to go in a backpack or be held or like in a purse or something. Because I was thinking the same thing, like, really, we're going bigger? But then I was like, well, the Switch itself is already too big to be like a pocket device. So why not make it a little bit bigger and a little more comfortable? But also, it's like aimed at, like you said, kids that will sit in the corner of the couch hunched over an iPad looking like a little gargoyle while they're like playing. So for them, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think it's going to be a little heavier than the Switches we have now and lighter than the Steam Deck.
Yeah, fair.
Well, and honestly, I mean, the current Switch is like kind of lightweight and weight-wise is comfortable to hold, but like Joy-Con size, it falls into that, like it's just a little bit too small even for my hands. And I don't have like small hands for a woman my size, but like also
she's holding up her hands, listeners.
Oh yeah, and you'll have to take my word for that. I do wear like a size medium glove at work for whatever that's worth.
Just remember those Burger King commercials, the guy with the tiny hands. Just envision that.
But like for this current Switch to still be like a little bit too small to be comfortable for me, I can only imagine how for a lot of the population it is like a little uncomfortable to be like clenched and curled around that for like a duration of time. So even though I play mine mostly undocked and I treat it like a handheld device, and having like a heavier thing will be annoying, I also basically just like carry a backpack around nowadays anyway in terms of like purse. So for mobility's sake or going on a trip or something like that, like it's not so outrageous that if I want to play it undocked at home, it feels like it would be difficult to do. And then hopefully that bigger size will allow for the Joy-Cons to be more comfortable. But it does feel weird calling those controllers Joy-Cons because they're not colorful anymore.
Well, they
Where's
will
the
be.
joy?
I'm sure
they're going to be. They showed the red and blue in the trailer, but like it's because they're advertising to the gamers right now, the like early adopters, people that are going to buy it day one. But like Dylan said, ultimately this thing, like the last Switch, is going to thrive off of kids and families, and so they're going to have all the different pastel colors and stuff like that. But yeah, that was what I was saying with like this announcement. It was very sterile for Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, and so I guess the big questions running through my head. Number one, price. Like how much is this going to cost? And then number two, like, are you guys getting one? Like, where are we feeling like we're at? Because I looked at that and I was like, I mean, that seems cool, but I don't know that I'm like rushing out to buy one of these. Like it seems like it's very iterative. I'm sure they will get to a point where it's stuff is not coming out on the Switch 1 and is only available on the Switch 2. And I know the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, but we don't know kind of the timeline on that yet. And I looked at it and I was just like, I mean, that's cool, but like if this tanks the value of my OG Switch and I can't trade it in for very much, then I'm not going to like rush out and buy and upgrade this if I'm going to have to spend like $400 on this, So I don't know. Where are you guys at on it? Did this excite you? Are you like, oh, I can't wait for my Switch 2? Or is it more of a like, yeah, I'll probably upgrade eventually when mine starts getting old or the new Zelda comes out or whatever,
I was gonna say, the biggest determining factor for me will be like titles that are Switch 2 exclusive. And as unlikely as it would be, like an Animal Crossing would probably get me to purchase it. With much resentment in my heart, Twilight Princess would probably get me to buy it. Because I do have it on the GameCube, so it is that kind of like, it would have to be like a pretty solid like re-release. Like I don't want the Wii U version on the Switch 2. Like that's not going to be enough for me. But yeah, it would be kind of title dependent. Because ultimately, like, Animal Crossing is what got me to finally get a Switch. So I could see that doing it again. Like,
I thought you had a Switch way before Animal Crossing, though.
I had a Switch probably...
Because didn't you get the Animal Crossing Switch to replace your OG Switch?
Yes, but my OG Switch I had only picked up probably 4 months before.
Oh, okay. So
and
like
Animal
after
Crossing
the
had been announced.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was what finally made me go, okay, well, I got a big girl job with disposable income. Let me go ahead and get that and the new Pokemon and, maybe a couple other like indie titles and stuff. And so I'd only had that a couple months, which is why I didn't, feel real silly gifting it to Abby as like hey, here's my old thing I don't need anymore. It's like, no, it's still basically new. Here you go. So yeah, it would be title dependent for me, whether or not I would pick it up. And even then, there's probably a decent bit of pause on it. I don't play my current Switch enough to justify like an at launch or even like within a couple months probably of purchasing. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where I'm at.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors at play. And given that we're getting more details in April, I feel like they're setting up for a holiday season release.
Yeah, because I too kind of look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's going to be like title dependent. And they're really going to have to like show me how I feel like we're back in sort of the Wii U situation again, where it's like, tell me how this is really that different and not just a bigger Switch, Like I need to see Elden Ring running on the Switch or something where I'm like, oh, okay, this is like doing more. This has got games that I would maybe, this doesn't just have the remaster of Dark Souls 1 that came out in 2011. Like, this is something that's got current games on it that aren't just Nintendo titles. And I don't know, but that's also me and my, I am much more, I have very little nostalgia for Nintendo properties. And so it's not maybe as big of a deal for me as some other people. What about you, Andrew?
I will probably buy it day one.
As is tradition.
Yeah, I like the new things. So there's kind of a lot of, I guess, factors or like talking points I could go through. Being, I think Digital Foundry speculated that this will be kind of like a PS4, Xbox One level of quality.
Excellent.
Yeah, maybe
I made a prediction to that level.
So, yeah, and since you already got the name wrong, you got to try to.
To be fair, did they call it the Switch 2? Did they confirm that, or
it has it stamped on the like controller thing? Yeah,
Switch
and on the dock.
2.
They could still in April call it the Super Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, they could.
I could still call it the Super Nintendo Switch.
That wasn't your prediction. They, with that being the strength level, I'm having flashbacks to the original Switch, where when it came out, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, it's like as strong as the 360 or whatever, whatever the comparison was at the time." And when it launched, it was like, "Oh, it actually can play third-party games pretty well." We're getting uglier versions, but they're still like running okay. And then at this point, like you said, the only way that current games can run on it is like through the cloud, and it's like I don't want to pay full price for a cloud only version of a game.
Yeah.
The Switch historically for me has been Nintendo first party and
like
indie games. And so
a lot of those are on PC now.
Well, they've always been on PC, but now I'm on PC.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they come out with a Steam Deck that isn't like as disgusting looking and maybe I would rather get one of those, but I would like to see some of the games that came out on Switch kind of late in its life. I'd like to see how they play on better hardware.
Yeah.
Also, I have a family with 2 kids. One of them is now playing games. The other one, she's probably a couple years away, but it's like, it's not hard for me to justify picking up this Switch and then like kind of doing the hand-me-down swap, like rotation, the oldest now gets the OLED, the youngest gets the older one. Like, it's pretty easy for me to kind of justify that in my head.
Yeah.
But I am excited and curious to see, when we get more information in April, like you said, what sets it apart is it purely iterative? Which on the one hand is kind of odd for Nintendo. On the other hand, they tried to like in some ways with the Wii U, they like tried to be iterative, but then got weird at the same time and it didn't pay off. And so it's like maybe iterative is a good idea when it's like your most successful console of all time. But on the other hand, pretty much all other consoles are iterative, and they're getting to the point now where it's like Xbox is talking about like not even really worrying about consoles anymore because we've kind of like hit the end of the road with what these devices can, like outside of their exclusive libraries. What is the point of releasing another, like having another console generation? And so Nintendo
it's not
and
really
PlayStation
space race anymore.
Yeah, exactly. The technology is not like leaping forward. It's not like you buy an Xbox version of the console this generation because all the games look noticeably better than they do on the PlayStation. And so for Nintendo, they have kind of their own audience, being families and kids, and then they have the Nintendo adults, and then they kind of have the casual market as well. And so they're probably still okay doing this, kind of like releasing more like another console and stuff. Plus they're like off with the other, like they're announcing their console now, and the PS5 and Xbox Series have been out for 5 years or whatever at this point.
Yeah.
But I do want to see what makes it different, what sets it apart. I will pretty much guaranteed get it at launch. As far as price, I think that 400 number is probably not too far off. I think I would be surprised if they went much higher, again because of the market and like their market and just kind of the idea that people have about Nintendo. And they've always kind of like, that's been one of their edges, their competitive edges, is that like when the Xbox and the PlayStation were like $500, you could get a Switch for like $300 or $350, so it's like a substantial difference.
It's easy for it to be the like second console, the secondary thing that you pick up too, where it's like maybe you're primarily a PlayStation or Xbox gamer, but when a Nintendo Switch is $300-$400, it's like, that's more doable than trying to pick up the Xbox or the PlayStation, or God forbid a PC. So,
and as the console, like as the exclusive lines blur more and more, and the like exclusive titles start to shrink across like the other two main platforms being PlayStation and Xbox. I mean, you can play pretty much all of their games on PC at this point. Yeah. And so it's really just like the two of them against each other, like the only places you can't get those games. But Nintendo is still very strictly like locked off. You're not, if you like Nintendo games, you have to get our console.
Yeah. So. And their exclusive titles rarely go on sale.
Yeah.
Like unlike Game Pass, or like they don't do the like, pick this game up for $5 or a steep discount on an exclusive. Like you're not gonna get a Mario game for $10 from Nintendo officially.
Yeah.
So they make that money back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can sell their consoles probably at a loss the most effectively out of the three companies. I mean, they all sell consoles at a loss, and then they make it back up on software.
Yeah.
But Nintendo, like specifically, because in the gaming world, Nintendo fans, like hardcore gamer Nintendo fans, not like the casual audience that all went out and bought a Switch during COVID, but like the ones that are drooling over this announcement today, they're kind of like the equivalent to Disney adults. Like they are just kind of like that.
Yep.
That level of freak about their Nintendo fandom. And so they will spend the money for these exclusives. They'll fork it out. And that's who Nintendo is advertising to right now. Like the first year or two, like they're going to be pushing to the hardcore gamer market, and then it'll kind of shift.
Yeah.
And you'll see, the Wii Fit Adventure and stuff like that start coming out, and like the targeting the families and kids more.
Well, and I wonder too, like you mentioned earlier about how like the current like your daughter's current Switch is like one of them is getting kind of loose and that sort of thing. I wonder what the average lifespan of a Switch is, especially in a kid's hands. And I wonder if it's getting close-ish to the point where it's like, oh, well, you need a new Switch. Well, we'll just get the Switch too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, especially if it's backwards compatible. If you can still play all the games you already have for it, then like,
yeah. Which
why not pick up a new one?
They have officially said that it's backwards compatible, right? Or they've
officially said
something like most titles should work. I think they left themselves a loophole, but
yeah, like the exact thing at the end of the trailer is that it all Switch 1 or original Switch titles are backwards compatible with like original Switch titles, something like that, with like an asterisk, and then the fine print is like some titles may not work as expected or as intended or something like that. And so I don't know if they put that in there for like some one-off kind of weirdo games that maybe just won't click, or maybe some they had trouble.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they're
maybe Breath of the Wild doesn't work.
Well, no, my guess would be they're changing Joy-Cons or Joy-Con functionality to a point where like if a game heavily was about like the Joy-Con movements or something, maybe it's gonna like that part's gonna be different enough that it may not work.
The way it was phrased, I kind of was thinking of some like the first Mario Party on Switch, like it was like all motion controls pretty much. You had to use a single Joy-Con. There was no other option to play that game. And so I could see if it's like because the original Joy-Cons were very big on the like gyroscopic like vibrations and stuff like that. And so if they've reworked some of the tech in them, then they may have just put that disclaimer there to be like, hey, some of these like heavily motion focused things may be a little bit wonky on the new hardware.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see that being the case. It would be great, and it won't happen, but it'd be great at the Nintendo Direct for my birthday if they announce a new Animal Crossing game. Or even just,
a double
update.
Package. Animal Crossing and Twilight Princess
in
one box.
Link Wolf is in the Animal
Crossing. Well, here's my big question.
He was. You
Aubrey,
can scan his amiibo.
Are you getting the Twilight Princess themed Switch 2, or are you getting the Animal Crossing new whatever themed Switch 2?
Well, obviously only after I've already bought a Switch 2, and then like a month after that they'll announce one branded to like one of my favorite game franchises ever. And then I'll have to fight somebody at GameStop for it again.
Right. If GameStop
I'm
won't be
so much
around,
more confrontational now than I was in 2020.
I keep thinking Animal Crossing just came out. They're not gonna announce a new one. But I guess it was 5 years ago at this point.
It was 5 years ago, and they've not like released any updates or support or any kind of like additional stuff for it in the past 2-3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they did all the way up to like 2022, 2020. Yeah, I think it was 2022, maybe 2023 that they stopped supporting it.
Because when did the expansion come out? When was that? Was that 2022?
I think it was late 2022, and then after that expansion, they were like, "Man, that's it. No more updates."
I mean,
they continued to update like Pocket Camp.
Yeah. Well, they could keep updating stuff. Yes, you're right, but it's also kind of like they had events everywhere. They had a ton of characters. At a certain point, it's like go make a new game.
Well, I would be fine with that if that's what they were shifting focus towards, like a new game, but. At most, there's no way it would be a launch title. Like, there's no way with the way that they incubate on these things, unless it was like a Tears of the Kingdom-esque like sequel to Animal Crossing, which is not what anybody wants out of an Animal Crossing. Like, they don't want something that's like the same.
Animal City.
Oh, they've kind of done that. They've done City Folk.
Oh.
Yeah. Which they could definitely like expand on that premise or introduce like they could go a lot bigger with the Animal Crossing franchise for sure.
Yeah, no, I think they're holding on to Animal Crossing for if bird flu gets bad and we all get locked down again, So.
I see Animal Crossing as like one of those
come April.
couple years into the life cycle kind of bring it out type thing, because I think the launch games are going to be the new Mario Kart, the new Metroid game, and then maybe like a 3D Mario platformer, because like
Odyssey
those
too.
potentially, but like those we haven't gotten since really early in the Switch life cycle, and so it's like it's time for those to come back out. We know Metroid Prime 4 is supposed to come out this year already, so
yeah,
I think a lot of these games are going to be cross-platform with the original Switch, but it's like similar to the Xbox and PlayStation when they launched. It's like, do you want them to, but even more so, do you want them to run well and look good? You probably want to play them on the Switch too.
Play them there. Yeah, no, New Horizons was definitely like a shot in the arm. And I want to say that New Leaf, the game that came out before New Horizons, was like 2012. So we're talking like 8 years between each Animal Crossing installment, which was pretty long because we got City Folk and we got Wild World. And so like there were games within that span before New Horizons, but I could definitely see like 4 years into the Switch 2's lifespan. They're like, and here comes Animal Crossing to like convince people who haven't bought it yet to like buy it and feel like convinced that they need to get it on the Switch 2 type thing. Because while its success was definitely due to lockdown, like there's no denying that, if it's far enough out, there's some like nostalgia for it, and people have really sucked the marrow out of New Horizons and like all the rest of it.
So. Well, it put it in front of so many new eyes, you know, and so like there are a ton of people that were unaware of Animal Crossing and Switches, and that are now in Nintendo's ecosystem essentially, and so I could see it. And Andrew, you said you think they'll be cross-platform. I don't. If a console maker is not going to make games cross-platform at launch, if they're just going to be available, I think it's Nintendo. I think Nintendo could come out and be like, this new Mario Kart, only Switch 2. Sorry, guys. Like, and I think people would be fine with that. Like, I think there'd be a little bit of confusion, but as long as the packaging is clear, you know, I could see them just kind of being like, meh, tough.
Yeah.
Trying to remember if they did release. Well, they did GameCube and Wii.
Yes, releases. They've released versions of games simultaneously. Specifically, Zelda games have like straddled that line, and Metroid Prime 4, unless they just decide to scrap the Switch version, I think like it's been developed for the Switch this whole time. So
that one's
like,
been in development. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking more of like Mario Kart and and a potential Mario platformer. Yeah, like I don't know how long they've had dev kits for like Switch 2 and have been targeting that hardware. You know, I could see like the Switch 1 is already rough sometimes with titles that come out, that I can see if they're really trying to like develop something new that maybe they've only been targeting Switch 2 hardware, you know? So
yeah, I guess we'll just have to see like how iterative of a console it is. Do they use the same cards? And then, you know, Nintendo does whatever they want anyways, and they're kind of like notoriously consumer unfriendly when it comes to their games. So I could definitely see them doing Switch 2 only games, but I feel like the landscape has shifted to where people nowadays would be the most probably frustrated and vocal about it that they've ever been, whether or not, you know, they're still going to buy it. So I don't know that their outrage matters, but yeah, that's the kind of stuff in April that I'm curious to learn more about.
Right.
But yeah, we live in a day and age now with like phone technology and TVs and computer, like everything is iterative. And so Nintendo kind of adopting that formula, it makes me think that, well, it kind of just makes me think that like they might try to ease the transition and have like a family of Switch consoles as opposed to like a very hard dividing line. But we're just going to have to wait and see. It's all speculation right now.
Yeah, we'll see if the gaming critics crucify them for having a family of consoles, and you know, that blurs lines when they, similar to how they have with Xbox and the Series X and Series S. So
I do think the Switch was kind of the perfect coming together of the handheld and the like console, that they were putting out both devices for so long that to come to the point of the Switch is like, yeah, this is our peak. This is, we've brought the two families of our game departments like together.
Yeah.
And now we can move forward with just this one device. And so I'm sure I lack the imagination of people within the games industry that have been working for Japan, like working for Nintendo for ages, but like also I cannot imagine where it would go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, like the N64 or like the Nintendo NES, SNES to N64, large jump. The N64 to GameCube was a large jump in that it at least had like a controller that was designed for a human. GameCube to Wii was massive because that's a huge shift. And even like Wii to Wii U is kind of a decent shift in like what they were trying to do. It's more iterative, but like I think they maybe have learned a little bit from that and are, hey, the Switch is our most successful console. Why don't instead of doing something completely different, we lean into this, perfect it a little bit more. I've been seeing people saying that like you can use the Joy-Cons like a computer mouse or something. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but like, so it seems like there could be some cool things that are coming down the pipe with it.
Right, still some Nintendo weirdness. We just don't know how that's going to shake out.
Yeah,
yet.
Suddenly the Switch becomes like an RTS machine or something, like so you're playing World of Warcraft, like Microsoft puts World of Warcraft on the Switch and you're just using the little Switch mouse or Switch Joy-Con to like click around in there. Like, I don't know. It could be wild.
We'll just have to wait and see. Switch 2 news dominating the conversation on this episode, but let's go ahead and shift into just a couple games that we've been playing lately. I guess let's just make it a Nintendo block. Aubrey and I played Super Mario Party Jamboree, or it might just be Mario Party Jamboree, the most recent Mario Party that came out in October, I believe. My wife picked it up over the last couple weeks. Her and I played a few games, just the two of us. Then we played one afternoon, we played a game with our oldest daughter. And then most recently, Joe and Aubrey came over and the four of us played for an evening. And it was the first time we tried a new board. It was the race car board, which the board
that's pretty interesting.
I had played before was like a mall. And yeah, I think that's kind of like how I feel about the game is that the core idea, the core gameplay, still the same. If you like Mario Party, you're probably going to like this. But this finally, after the like kind of bare bones first game they did, and then the like nostalgia play remaster, it wasn't like a recreation or reimagining of like the old games that they did with Superstar. Like this feels like the first one where they actually put some new ideas, a bunch of new content. Like there's new, like the, I joke about the woman who says, "You got a star" is a different voice. Like they've done some leveling up with this one. I think they've gotten a bit more creative with the boards. Like we did the one that we played, everybody's in a cart, like a race car, and you're going around a track. And the whole idea of that board is like moving a lot. And so they're just handing you out like mushrooms and double dice and stuff constantly. You're like rolling big numbers and trying to like make laps around to get more coins. And so it's like kind of a little bit of a twist on just the same gameplay that we've been playing Mario Party since the very beginning. What did you think of it, Aubrey?
I liked it. It felt fresh. It felt different. There were new mini games that I hadn't experienced before, which is always fun. Not that I think there was a ton of overlap from like mini games that I'd played in past games to, what is it, Superstar or whatever the first one that came out on the Switch was. Yeah, the race cart was a little different. The ally system is a little different, but I'm glad that they kept the ally system. That keeps it kind of fresh. Makes your wife mean, and you were very eager to point that out. That she gets so competitive over the Mario Party games. It's pretty funny.
By like turn 8, I'm usually done playing with her. I'm like, you make this not fun.
You need to chill out. Yeah. Which, as someone who like doesn't play a ton of games and then has a handful of games that I'm like good at, it is fun to show out when you're like good at video games in like a room full of gamers. So
the problem is you can't be good at Mario Party like that. I have accepted that the game decides who's going to roll well. The game decides when Bowser's going to screw you. The game decides who's getting the bonus stars. And so then to gloat when the game has decided you're going to be in the lead, it's like, oh, okay. Okay.
She did have one hell of a round where she like bought 2 stars and then stole a star from Joe and then landed on the Bowser thing, but because she had an ally, she hit it twice. And the first time was the Bowser Revolution. So then it redistributed everybody's coins. So then I didn't have enough to steal a star from her. And then also she got like coins yanked from her for like the second one. And then it was like, well, now it's a race for second, because what are we going to do with that? So I can appreciate the frustration of the board game of it all. But yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's fresh. I'm looking forward to playing more rounds. I guess there's like, you guys have to play more to unlock more boards and stuff right now. You're still in the unlocking phase.
Starts with four boards, and then there's also a bunch of other stuff that we haven't even really looked at yet. Like, you start in like the plaza, and then you can go to like the mini game thing, and then like they have the other little activity over here to the side, and then there's the like traditional Mario Party game mode, which is all we've really played. And that, you start with 4 boards, and there's at least 2 more that you can unlock. And like I said, we've only played like 3 or 4 times, so
well, and with the ally system, you do like a character specific mini game or set of mini games or whatever. You compete in order to like earn the ally to have them on your team.
Yeah.
And so I imagine there's probably a version where you can just do those mini games. Like you can, not like a whole version of Mario Party where it's just that, but there's probably some sort of game mode where you can go play those games if you enjoyed them. I remember in the first game, there was like a series of mini games where you just basically went down the track and you just had to do like all of the mini games. Because Delaney and I sat down one weekend when I first got my Switch and probably irreparably damaged one of my buttons 100% in that game, because there's one where you have to like button mash. I think it's the tug of war one, and I want to say it must have set us up to like be doing it against like hard enemies, because I literally looked up like how do you effectively button mash, and I took a pencil and I rubbed it back and forth over the button in order to like button mash in order to win. And that is literally what it required to beat that mini game. So and then there was like a whole rhythm game section in the original one. So yeah, I'm curious to like get in there and sort of like plumb the depths of all of the other options and stuff that might be in there. I understand why they don't do it, but I really wish you could do like 6 or 8 players in a Mario Party. 4 is so limiting.
It would make it a lot more, like a lot longer, but it is something that's like, they've shown that they can do it because Mario Kart supports 8 people and Smash Brothers supports 8 people. And I think most of them still just use like one Joy-Con. Like you can still just use the one Joy-Con.
Yeah, it's just the one like half or what. Yeah. So it doesn't require a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess all the mini games are like balanced for 4 players, but that's definitely like a direction they could take it if they ever wanted to like really like, now we're evolving the Mario Party formula. You can finally play with 8 players, but
yeah,
that's probably a pipe dream given the 40 years of Nintendo games, and they haven't brought
Yeah.
that up to.
I could see them doing it eventually, but because I think the same statement could have been made about Mario Kart and about Super Smash Brothers as like, oh, it's just a four player game. It's a pipe dream to hope that it gets to be more. And they did it there, but it could be that it's been limited by the Switch 1 hardware, so maybe
I
Switch
feel
2,
like
we'll see.
It's more a design thing than like the designing of the actual games and the balancing of the mini games more so. They'd have to maybe like do like 2 8-player boards kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like a specific game mode for that many players.
Yeah. But be intriguing. That would be exciting.
But since seeing Super Smash Brothers do it, like the thought I think is in like even Abby when she got it was like she said something about all of us playing it. I'm like, it's only 4 players. And she's like, no, I thought it was more. So there might be some game modes in this one that let you do more, but like the traditional board, and it might just be 4. I didn't actually look at the back of the case to see, but
yeah,
it'd be cool to be able to do more people.
All I really want out of the Mario Party franchise at this point is just, I mean, heck, even 6.
Yeah. But no.
It's fun. It's fun and good and fresh, and I'm intrigued to play more of it and laugh at you and your wife you getting mad at your wife because she's being intensely competitive. And then you put enough drinks in Joe, and between him and me and the shy guy he's playing as, it's just noises over in our half of the couch.
Doesn't that sound like a fun evening, everybody? Dylan, what have you been playing? What's a game you want to talk about?
The one that I've probably been playing the most, I've gone back to Hunt Showdown, which I feel
like
now
we could start a series of neighborhood watches. It'd be like every time you've talked about Hunt Showdown. But yeah, this is the first time you've talked about it since they like updated it, right?
Yeah, so it is now Hunt Showdown like 1896 or something like that.
Banner year.
It is
1886.
They have relaunched it. It is now they've updated it for, I believe, the Series X, PlayStation 5 generation. I don't know that if you can play it on older consoles anymore. I'm pretty sure they shut down the older, like the original Hunt Showdown. I don't know if this one's cross-gen and I'm just playing it on Series X, or if you have to have one of the newer consoles to do it. But I have gone back for the Post Malone murder circus that is in the game now.
They
not
did
because
shut
I'm
it down on PS4 and Xbox One.
Okay. I'm not like a particularly the thing I know about Post Malone is that he bought the One Ring Magic the Gathering card, like the one ring, for $1 million. I don't know any of his songs. I'm not a particularly like big Post Malone music fan. But
he is one of us apparently.
Yeah, but he does. So I went back because I am killing time before Monster Hunter comes out, and this seemed like a fun way to do that. They have on every map a circus that spawns in like a random location, and there are a bunch of like clown zombies that'll wander around throughout the map. And so if you go to the circus, there's a giant mutated zombie bear that is there that you can fight.
A zombear?
Yes, exactly.
Jeez Louise.
And
whoa.
If you're unfamiliar with what Hunt is, because you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's an extraction shooter, battle royale type thing. So up to 12 players spawn on the map, and then you go around trying to collect various clues on the map to figure out which of the sort of compounds on the map that the boss is in. And then once you figure that out, you can go fight the boss. And if whoever kills it, it drops some bounty tokens that you then try to pick up and take to one of 3 points on the map that are randomly chosen as extraction points. And so you generally are going from somewhere in the middle of the map to one of the edges. There are only 2 bounty tokens per boss. Sometimes there are 2 bosses on the map. And so you can play it solo with a team of 2 or a team of 3. And so potentially there are 3 to 5 or, 3 to 11, I guess, if everyone's solo, other people in the map who, once you kill a boss and pick up the bounty token, are trying to kill you because they want that as the reward. Or maybe they find the boss first and it marks it on the map once the boss is killed where it is. And so it instead of sort of that Fortnite circle where it's slowly closing in, the way that Hunt funnels people into combat is just, hey, the boss is over here, the reward's over here. We've marked it on your map, and everybody kind of just naturally goes towards it. You don't have to. You can dip out at any point. The other fun part, the extraction shooter part of it, is you take this hunter in. If that hunter gets killed in that match, then you lose that hunter that you were maybe leveling up and adding some perks to, and you lose whatever equipment they were carrying.
So it's like a permadeath system.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool. Gives it a little, makes it a little more tense. It's set in the 1800s, sort of Wild Westy times.
1886 maybe.
Yeah. And so all of the guns that you're using are you're not sitting out there with an assault rifle or something, right? It's most of it's lever action or a revolver or a just bolt action rifle or something like that. So it's not a twitchy, jumping around Call of Duty sort of fight. It's no, I'm in cover. Any of the guns can kill you in one to 3 shots, and so it makes it a little bit more tense. And knowing that if I lose this fight, my guy's dead, and I have to start leveling this person up, it also adds to that tension. So that's been pretty cool. The current season is Post Malone themed, I guess, Murder Circus themed. You'll see people running around as Post Malone, in a ringmaster's outfit or whatever. I think that's one of the skins that they've recently released or as part of the battle pass. But it's not, they did it in a way that feels like it fits in the world, right? It's not, Squid Game in Call of Duty sort of levels of weirdness, or it's not jumping the shark of every property ever being in Fortnite, so they've added some fun times. Like I said, I've been enjoying it. I've been having some fun. I've been playing some solo. I've been playing some with my brother, and so we've been enjoying it. So it looks fantastic now. It's always kind of looked good, but it's the Crysis team. It's Crytek, and so there have been multiple times where you're just kind of looking at it, it's wow, this is really a video game. So
it helps with that, because it's well, you said it's Crytek. I always kind of viewed this as a double A kind of game, but I guess now that they've kind of pushed into the current generation, they're able to give it that more AAA look, that style, the shine to it all that it was maybe lacking on the previous consoles.
Yeah. If any of what I said sounds interesting, maybe check it out. Maybe hop in our Discord. Let us know that you're playing it. I'd be down to hop on. I think Andrew also owns this game.
I was about to ask you, was the update just a free, they just update your game if you have it, or?
Yeah, if you own it, you get the updated Series X version for free. it is still it's not a free to play game. You do still purchase it, but
right. But like if I were to re-download it, I would have
you'd have the new one.
I mean, what you're saying, it's one of those that I always see, and I'm like, I need to give that a real because we streamed it a couple times, and like, you know, I've maybe put a couple hours into it, but it's one that I feel like if I actually sat down and spent like a weekend playing it, it could hook me.
Yeah.
So I may have to re-download it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I've done a few runs of like the trios mode where it matches you. It's usually just 3 other teams that are 3 people, and I'll say that's a lot more new player friendly, I feel like, than the duos mode that you and I streamed, because the way that their matchmaking kind of works is like if someone is solo, it's matching a good player up with like weaker duos just to try to like make the fights even. So it's like if you're one person, it's matching you up with people you're probably better with because there are 2 of them.
Gotcha.
And I feel like it's with more teams, it's easier in duos mode to get caught in between. Like if noise is a very big thing in this game. They have sound traps all over. They have like all of the guns, like, you know, where teams are. It's all like directional audio from like if you're wearing headphones. And so if you get into a gunfight in duos mode, it's very easy for multiple teams to kind of like show up and just kill you in the crossfire, versus in trios where it's usually just 3 other teams. If you get into a fight, most of the time it's just against that one other team, you know? So it feels a lot more new player friendly. So.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I have pretty much just been playing a ton of Marvel Rivals, but you all heard about that last week, so I'm not going to bring it up again here. But what we do have to round out this episode to bring it home is we reached out to our community in Discord that we've mentioned a few times on this episode. So like I said, if you want to be part of episodes like this, jump in. And we asked them what they've been playing recently, why they like it or why they don't. And we got a few responses. So I'm going to read those off now and we'll kind of discuss them as we bring this episode to a close. So the first response that we got was from Scary Sam, who is Sam from the Fake Gamer Girls podcast, who has been on this show. And she said that she's been playing Stray Gods, and it's super weird. She said, I like that it's a choices game where you can get multiple endings, and the comic book art style is really cool. Unfortunately, for it being the role-playing musical video game, the songs low-key kind of suck, and I'm very sad about that. It's such a weird experience game-wise, though, and I'm forcing my sister to play it for this year's game exchange so I can talk to someone about this bizarre game.
Yeah, that's one that's been on my radar, and it is kind of a bummer to hear that the songs are not the best.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just me just kind of being judgy, but that was part of the reason why I wasn't like jumping in with both feet type thing, is because of what I've heard. And it's all like in the composition of the songs. Like obviously Laura Bailey can sing. It's like just how they're composed and like pulled together is a little bit weird. Yeah. And then with you making choices, they released like 3 soundtracks for that game based on the different choices that like you can make while you're doing the singing. Right. Like if you do like the Renegade, Neutral, or Paragon path type deal. So that was kind of like a hang up for me. As someone who's played drop mix, I know how easy it is for like you select the wrong thing and the song goes in a completely cockamamie direction and you're like, that's rough. So I could see that being an outcome.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like, I mean, if you're going to bill yourself as a musical game, you gotta hope that the songs are good.
That's so you should nail the music part.
Yeah,
right.
Like because you could have just been a cool choices based story game, and it sounds like maybe that would have been a smarter choice. So, Still interested in it, but now it's definitely a like maybe on sale or Game Pass situation.
Yeah.
So I look forward to hearing the Fake Gamer Girls talk about it. I will never play this game.
What? I'm so shocked. Aubrey,
crazy.
hopefully you win the prediction so Andrew can be forced to play this game.
Rude.
Make us all play it.
The next response we got was from the real Dave Jackson, the host of Tales from the Backlog, who said, I've been playing a lot. Persona 4 Golden, which is pretty good, but not a home run, and I'm waiting for the story to take the next step. Ace Combat 7, which is so fun, and then Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which is really cool, but I'm trying to make the connection between the game's narrative and the type of puzzles, the kind you would find in a puzzle book in an airport gift shop.
Interesting. I've heard good things about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and also that's a killer
that title
name.
goes hard.
I was gonna say, I've heard that name and it cracks me up like every time I hear it. I know it's kind of like a puzzly, like adventure style game, so like it never really spoke to me to actually go like seek it out and play it. But yeah, every time I hear the name, I'm like, that's got to be one of the best names for a game out there, right? It's instantly intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've also played a little bit of Persona 4 Golden. It's good. I definitely like Persona 5 better so far, but Persona 4 is held up as a very good experience.
Weren't the older Persona games like PS Vita, like
mm-hmm.
handheld games? So yeah, I can definitely see. You know, I feel like it's one of those like you either have the nostalgia for like the first one you played, or you know, probably the first one to come to console in a big way with Persona 5. You know, it's probably objectively like the best game of the bunch, but I can definitely see that like I know a lot of people, especially on the like Sony side of the games industry, have certain personas held up way high in there.
Yeah, they really like Persona 3 and 4. But I will say Persona 4's story is a lot more intense. Like, I think Persona 3 is like somebody's doing bad thing, or Persona 5 is like somebody's kind of being like a jerk. Let's go figure it out. And obviously there's more like to it than that. Persona 4 is like somebody's murdering people. So it is a bit more intense. So
nice. Either of you ever play the Ace Combat games?
I tried Ace Combat 7.
Did it make you sick?
It didn't make me sick. It was just any like dogfighting type of game. I am looking for something very specific in a dogfighting game. I'm looking for something that gives me Star Fox. Well, I'm looking for Star Fox and like Battlefront 2 dogfighting style, and so few games are that. But that's like the only way I know how to fly in a video game. And I want to say Ace Combat was different enough that it was like, this isn't what I'm looking for. I'm sure I think the story part was pretty cool.
That's the most recent Ace Combat, right? 7?
Mm-hmm.
I remember it reviewing really well, and like the people that like those games saying that like, oh yeah, this game is rad. And Dave, every time he brings it up, says it's awesome. But
yeah,
I haven't tried it.
Yeah, it's one that I'd like to try more of, but I think when I picked it up, I was looking for something that felt more like Star Fox, and that was not it. So,
Aubrey, do you remember what like jet dog fighting game we had for I think it was the GameCube? We had like a fighter jet game that Braden and I would play quite a bit. I can't remember if it was an Ace Combat.
Oh,
like an Ace Combat 3 or something. Like this was a while ago, but I remember liking that one and having fun with it. But
I remember the Star Fox game we had.
Well, yeah, for sure. Had that one.
Had that, but no, I have no recollection of.
This is like a realistic military fighter jet, like you know, you're flying like an F-22 Raptor or whatever.
I never played that with y'all. I have no recollection of that.
Did you guys have Independence Day?
No.
Is that okay? I was gonna say that's the one I'm remembering from when I was a kid, and I was like, did I play it at your house or someone else's house? But it was like the Independence Day, but only the part of the movie where they were flying around in a jet. So
It's probably like a sandbox level you could load into, and so whoever had it was like, yeah, we'll just play this level.
Well, there was a Top Gun Combat Zone game on GameCube, so it might have been that one.
Oh, maybe.
I'm looking at the...
You sure it wasn't 360 era? You and Braden really played together a lot more on the Xbox.
Yeah, but this was more of like, we just kind of had it and we would like trade off and play it. This wasn't like one we played together a bunch. It was definitely from the era of like, I don't know where this game came from. I wouldn't have bought it myself. Oh, there's Blazing Angels for the Wii. I think we had that.
That might be it. Wii sounds more like, I feel like you and I played the Xbox a fair bit and Braden not so much. And then the Wii would have been right in that like sweet spot, especially with the like, if you use the Wiimote for it.
Yeah. So I've played a fighting game back in the day, but apparently it wasn't Ace Combat. So I may have to check out Ace Combat 7 and see if it clicks for me. Traditionally, like those kind of games haven't been my jam, but
it might, because you enjoyed Armored Core. Like the bit of Armored Core that I've played felt very Ace Combat, where it is like load into a mission, do your objective sort of situation, customize your plane. So it may scratch some of that itch that you have discovered.
Huh. Well, maybe I'll have to check that out. Let's see. The next response we got was from John with no H. He is the host of the Video Game Lounge podcast, and he said he's been playing Helldivers 2. I've been enjoying the recent update and new faction introduced. Fully back on this game. It's a lot of fun to play, and I have been able to sync up with some of my podcast friends as well.
Nice.
And then he also mentions Marvel Rivals. While I never played Overwatch, I like the Marvel spin on this game. I'm not good at the game, but playing as the different character types has been fun.
Now, have you gone back to Helldivers, Andrew? Or have you just kind of been like with the new faction or anything?
No, I haven't. I haven't gone back to it. I loaded it up one day just to like, because if you check in, you get like, they have, objectives that the whole community is working on. And so if you like load in, you can claim those, but
gotcha.
They expire after a while. Like I loaded in and it was like, you have so many expired things, but then I was able to claim like the most recent one or whatever. So I jumped in, I did that and played like a couple matches, but this was before the big update. I haven't played the update at all.
Gotcha. Yeah. It looks super cool. It's still one that I want to pick up eventually. Maybe we'll pull the trigger on PC eventually, but
yeah,
or when the PlayStation 6 comes out, I'll just play it on Andrew's old PlayStation 5 that I buy off him.
Yeah, there you go. And then Marvel Rivals is, that's the hotness right now. I've been playing a ton of that. I'm trying to actually rank up this season and see how high I can get. So it's something that Phil and Eric and I talked about on our most recent episode is that we hope that they add a cross-play ranked mode, because right now consoles and PC can't play ranked together. And they do that so that like the PC players don't have an advantage, but like hopefully they'll add some sort of way that you can like opt into that if you want to. That way like a group of cross-playing friends can try to play ranked together, because right now I have to play ranked basically by myself. But all that to say, John, hit me up. Let's play some Rivals. Right. I don't know if we can play ranked or not. I think console crossplay works. So like if he's on PlayStation, I'm on Xbox, because I committed to Xbox because that is the other big thing they need to add to the game is cross progression. And so until they add that, like I'm locked to Xbox. Once they add cross progression, I'd be down to hop on PlayStation or down to play on PC, but I've bought I bought the season pass and stuff on Xbox, so that's where I'm staying until they add cross progression.
Yeah.
And then the last response we got from our community was from Ryan Player One, the host of the List Off podcast. And he said, been playing a lot of Super Mega Baseball 4, more of an arcade experience than sim, but it leans into its ridiculousness well. Very fun if you're into baseball, but it does suffer from the lack of licensing, especially if you want to play as your favorite teams or professional players.
Mm-hmm.
I've played this game before. I played like one afternoon with, I don't remember if it was with Joe or Braden or somebody. And yeah, it reminded me of playing like Slugfest back in the day. Just like very silly take on baseball.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and he nailed the part that always kind of like I bounce off of is like, I want to play as like the Braves or something. I want to, see some of those players, and it's not that. It is just an arcadey baseball game, which is still fun. But when I'm looking for a baseball game, I'm looking for that, like the teams that I'm familiar with, Right. So,
yeah, no, I get that. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for responding and being part of this episode. We appreciate it. With all that being said, let's move into a little bit of housekeeping. As far as the podcast goes, we're still in the beginning of the year. I am working on lining up some interviews for 2025, so stay tuned for that. We want to try to have a few more of those this year than maybe we did last year, but that is still in the planning stages, still getting those things lined up. And then we have some fun topics and some fun ideas for the show this coming year that we've got on the calendar. And then we will pepper in game specific episodes as we play those games and it makes sense. So pretty excited for the podcast side of things as we move into 2025. Dylan, what's been going on YouTube? At the time this comes out, we will have whatever our next video is supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't think we know what our next video is supposed to be quite yet. But we have been releasing some stuff on YouTube. I think one of the biggest things that we did recently was the Fantasy Critic, which was a podcast episode. But if you're just listening to this as a podcast episode and you didn't watch that one on YouTube, you're really missing out. That one is like, we do have a video version of the podcast for every podcast that's come out since like sometime last year. But that one we did, the face cams, and it was a fun time. And so
you get to see Jay's cat trying to escape from his room. So
yes, that was excellent as well. So maybe check that one out. Andrew had a video come out earlier this month, or maybe last month, depending on when this episode comes out, on Assassin's Creed 4. So that was really cool. He was doing more of a sort of video essay style of that. So that's like a little different. Yeah, a little different than a lot of our videos that have come out. So maybe check that out if you're interested in seeing that, hearing a little bit longer thoughts on Black Flag. And then we're still releasing some shorter stuff, which will probably be what is coming out this week or last week when this episode comes out. It's hard recording early, guys. It's hard. It's good for us as a podcast to have some episodes in the bank, but it's hard when I have to do this part of the show because I don't know what's coming out until it comes out. So
especially when our YouTube content is not produced at the rate that this is.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Which is something we're working on this year as well. Like I know I've gotten 2 scripts done and recorded and in the bank. So we've got those, and then I'm currently working on a couple more. So like hopefully we'll get to the point where this part of the show will be a little bit easier because we can have these things kind of planned out ahead of time a little bit more.
Yeah, well, and how the sausage is made, I usually like when I'm recording a video for not Facebook, for YouTube. Jeez. When I'm recording a video for YouTube, it's usually like whatever I'm hyper fixated on that week.
Right.
And I will record the video on like Sunday or Monday and edit it on Tuesday, and then it'll go live on Wednesday. So I like most of the time I don't know what's coming unless I've had an idea stirring in my head that we've scheduled out. A lot of times the schedule looks like Dylan video, Andrew video. So, and then it just materializes maybe 3 or 4 days before. And so when we're recording 3 weeks before this episode comes out, we don't know. I don't know what's coming out. Just guess. Go to our YouTube, like, subscribe, watch the videos, leave a comment. Comments help the most. So
you'll like it. It'll be cool. I promise.
Yeah. If you've listened to this episode and haven't shut it off, you'll like what we do on YouTube. Just go check it out.
Made me think of the like Reader Rabbit at the ABC diner. Our YouTube videos are Souls-like, Eldritch Horror, RPG, surprise. Like you put all the ingredients together for that and you'll get something.
That's true. One of the script ideas I'm working on right now is about
an
Souls.
RPG.
Yeah. No, what is an RPG is Aubrey's research paper that she's supposed to write.
That's right.
And like college, until there's a deadline on it, it's not happening.
Well, now I'm just envisioning a like Aubrey's RPG reviews, and it may be an RPG, it may not. Who knows? That's what we're gonna call it.
Nobody knows. We can call anything an RPG,
right?
Yeah.
Wow, WoW's an RPG. There's a talent tree.
Yeah. Aubrey's RPG reviews, Marvel Rivals. Like,
say, WoW actually is an RPG. It's an
It's an MMORPG.
Oh, well, with all of that, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And we'll catch you on the next one. Remember to stay friendly, gamers.
Oh, I want to state for the record, I achieved one of my goals already.
Oh, yeah.
The day after we recorded that podcast, I played a 126-point game in Wingspan.
There you go.
Congratulations. You need loftier goals.
I've not come close since.
Nice. Well, there you go. First one down.
Nah.
Now stay friendly, gamers.